Hey guys, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and early, 6 a.m. here in Connecticut, sitting out in the middle of the woods here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today's going to be an interesting video, and I want you guys to stick with me to the end because it's going to be interesting. I gave this a lot of thought. I wasn't going to talk about this because it's probably not going to make me look all that good. But that's who I am. This channel, my biggest video. Let's talk about Beau the Fifth Column, where I just admitted that I was wrong, that I was stereotyping somebody, that he was probably a smarter and better man than I could ever hope to be, talking about Beau. And this is going to be a video kind of similar to that, where I'm still questioning, am I even still lying to myself? Am I actually racist? Do I have racist parts of me? All right, let me start at the very beginning here. Over the period of 2 days, I went to the post office because I'm trying to get my mail straightened out. Let me preclude this by saying that both of my parents, my mother and my stepfather, worked at this post office for their entire lives, and they retired there. I know all the postal workers there. They've been retired for 15 or 20 years. I know all the postal workers there. I remember my mother's boss, the postmaster, and I know the guy that followed up after him. I know all their names. Okay, so when I was getting ready to move my last place, I asked my postman what to do about my mail, because the situation is looking like this. Like I told you guys, I'm moving from my place. I'm staying with my sister, my family, for 30 days, and then while this apartment is being prepared, while it's being cleaned and new carpets and all that being remodeled, and then in 30 days I'm going to move into my new place. So I asked my postman, who I've known for decades, who my parents know, how to do this. And he said, no problem. I'm going to bring you a card tomorrow. It's going to hold your mail for 30 days. It's perfect. Next day, true to his word, the postman brought the card and told me how to fill it out. I filled it out. I brought it into the post office. And the girl that works there, also, I've known her for years. She knows my mom. She works with my mother and my father. I gave her the card. That was about a week. That was about 8 or 9 days ago. So over the last 8 or 9 days, I've stopped in the post office maybe 2 or 3 times trying to see if any mails come in for me, any bills. I'm concerned about keeping my credit good, especially when I'm still concerned about locking down an apartment. I have to make sure my credit is impeccable. Up until today's Wednesday, up until Monday. I went in Monday afternoon, and there was a man there who I did not recognize at all. I didn't recognize him. I know that the mailman that gave me that card was on vacation. I assumed that there's probably a lot of people on vacation. This guy looked young to me. I'm 55. Now, when I go back and think about it, I mean, he probably wasn't all that young. He probably was in his mid-30s, but he looked young to me, and he was the only one in there. So right off the bat, I've never seen this guy before. The regular people are on vacation. I'm thinking this is somebody they brought in to cover for people on vacation that's filling in. And he's also African-American. Now, I don't know. You guys are going to have to help me because I don't know if that plays a part, but it's going to play a part in a minute. All right. So I said, I'm here to see if there's any mail for me. My mail's on hold. He went back for quite a while, about 5 minutes. And he came back. He said, no, you have nothing here. As a matter of fact, there's no card, there's no hold card or anything for you back there. No hold card? How could that be? The mailman gave it to me. I filled it out. I gave it to the girl. And then, she was actually giving me junk mail last week. How could there be no hold card for me? No, there's no hold card. And not only that, it's illegal to do that. We can't have a hold card. If you don't own, because I don't, he told me that because I moved and I don't own that property that I moved from, I was renting there, that it's illegal to hold that mail. That I now have to fill out a change of address. So my mail is going to go from Thomas to where I used to live to the new town for a month, and then I have to fill out another change of address to my permanent place. So of course, I look at this guy. He looks like a young guy to me. he looks like he's nobody I recognize. I think he's filling in. So right off the bat. And, and then when he said there's no card, I was like, what do you mean there's no card? I filled out the card just like the people I've known for years had told me to, the people that work here. And I'm thinking, who is this guy? Who is this stranger telling me that there's no card, that the card I filled and, what's been going on for the last week hasn't really happened, but they can't do it that way. So I'm upset. And I walked out of there mumbling, and this guy's freaking incompetent, and that bothers me. That's not really who I am. I really like to think that I could handle that better. But I walked out of there mumbling under my breath, nothing other than saying that he's incompetent, because I thought that this was a young guy covering for people on vacation. Okay, next day I go in, and the girl that I know that's been getting my mail, that's been being held, was there, and this African American man. So the girl I know was busy with customers, and once again the African American man asked me if he could help me. And I only say that because I don't know his name. Or the young guy, I don't know what to call him. That's the only two things I don't know his name. All right, so he says, can I help you? And I say, no, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to her. That was rude, all right? But if you guys understand what I just said, this guy told me that there was no card, no hold card, no nothing. He's basically telling me what's been going on for the last week really hasn't been happening. So of course I don't want to talk to him. And the girl I know says, it's going to be a while. You should go over to him. So I go over to him and I say, look, this girl right here has been holding my mail for the last week. I'm doing just what my postman instructed me to do. He's the one that told me to do it this way, to put a hold on the mail. And once again, this young guy, this African American man, tells me, no, he was wrong. He's wrong. He does that. He talks and then he goes on vacation. And he was wrong. So I'm getting angry. My hands are starting to shake. So I'm about ready to ask, can I see the postmaster? Because I remembered who my mother used to work for. When this young African American man then informs me that he is the postmaster. All right, this is where things get a little, I don't know. I don't know if So I go, you're kidding me. You're the postmaster? That's what I said. Okay. Now, if you understand what I just told you, I have my memory of who the postmaster was there. It was my mother's boss. I know all the people working there. This guy, I don't recognize. Plus, to me, he looked young. So, in that context, I said, you're kidding me. You're the postmaster? When I thought about this after, of course, this must have looked extremely racist to this guy. Like this town of all white people. I come in and I'm amazed that this African American man is the postmaster. I assume, I'm guessing here, that's how he saw it. So he started to get nervous. My hands were shaking. I was angry. I said, he's like, you look like you're getting angry, sir. My hands are shaking. I said, of course I'm getting angry. I said, this affects a lot of other things. I asked him, where's my mail? And he says, I don't know, sir. Why don't you go check out where you used to live? And I did that, and there's no mail there. And I said, of course I'm angry. I don't know where my mail is. You're the post office, and nobody knows where my mail is. And I was just doing what my postman instructed me to do. Not only what he instructed me to do, but he gave me the card and told me how to fill it out. And this other girl has been going along and giving me the mail just like until you came along. And I'm worried about my credit. And I need my credit to get a new apartment. So, of course, I'm very concerned about all of this. So he says, well, you can do one of two things. You can get a post office box, or you could have your mail redirected to your new address. So, okay, I calmed down. I said, okay, I'll fill out a new change of address. And I filled it out, and he was snide. He's like, I said, thank you. I was trying to calm down. And he said, no problem. He came back with a very snide, no problem, which I ignored. I filled out the change of address. I gave it to the girl I've known, and she just shook her head and said, "This is unbelievable that you know, he's making you redirect your mail for 1 month to this address and then redirect your mail to another address. My mail is basically going to be bouncing around because the mail just doesn't go from this town to the new town. It goes back to the city of Meriden and then gets redirected back. And then when I move to where I'm going to have my permanent address, it's going to be bouncing around to about 6 different towns. So I'm not going to get my mail or my bills for months. When they could just hold my mail, they could just hold my mail for a month. But this postmaster insists that that's illegal because he says then that they would hold the mail for the new occupants, and I can't stop the mail for the new occupants. And how could that be? Because it's got my name on it. If it's got my name and that address, then put it in hold. If it's got the new people's name in that address, then deliver it to them. Just like if somebody was on vacation or something. So it kind of makes me think that this guy was going out of his way to give me a hard time, and I don't know why. After I talked about it to my family, and from this man's point of view, it must have looked extremely racist. You know, if he didn't know me, and like I've said before, I look just like a stereotypical conservative Trumper, anti-BLM kind of person. I look like that, but as you guys know me, I am not that. When I saw this guy, I immediately assumed, I thought he was young, and I thought he was covering for people on vacation, and he didn't know me, and he didn't know how things worked here. Honestly, in my heart, it never crossed my mind about African American or not African American, because there's like, this post office is basically half Caucasian, half African American. That's not an issue to me. I perceived this guy as young and inexperienced until I found out he was the boss and the postmaster. But from his point of view, I must have looked like something else. Now, here's the thing. You know, this still bothers me. It bothers me because I'd like to just, if I could just have 2 minutes to sit down with this guy and explain how I saw this. You know, the reason I was angry is because the post office employees instructed me to do this. I did it, and now my mail is lost in limbo. And this gentleman is not making it easier for me to get my future mail by any means. Instead of just holding, and it says right on the card, it says you can hold your mail for 3 days to a month. And that's all I wanted, for them to hold it for a month until I had my new address where I was going to be permanently. But he says that's illegal. You can't do that, because then they would be redirecting the new occupants. They'd be holding the new occupants' mail. All they would have to do is read the name, not just the address. If they read the name and it was my name, they put it on hold. So it bothers me. It bothers me because this guy now probably truly believes that I'm a racist Richard, you know, and it bothers me how I acted. It bothers me that I lost my temper. It doesn't help that the real field temperature is about 105 or 106. So I can understand. Like I told you guys, this wasn't anything to do with race to me. And of course, I never mentioned anything about race when I was talking to this guy. To me, he seemed inexperienced and incompetent, young, somebody who didn't know how the post office worked. Because all the other people that I've known for years working there told me to do it this way. And then all of a sudden there's a young guy there who I've never seen before, who I assume is filling in, telling me to do it a whole different way and making it 10 times harder for me. So, interesting. But, you know what? I have to look at this as a learning moment. There's got to be times when other people have probably been caught in similar situations. And it's easy, you know, we can't always judge everybody as being racist. Because I honestly, from my heart, I wasn't being racist, but it could have been construed that way. The other people that were being taken care of that day by the girl I know at the desk, there was 3 or 4 girls standing there just watching this all happen. And for all I know, they could have been videotaping it. It could pop up on YouTube sometime. You know, and of course, like I said, I never mentioned any, you know, anything about race never came out of my mouth or never entered my mind. But me saying, you got to be kidding me, you're the postmaster, could be misconstrued, even though it honestly never crossed my mind. The only way you could look at this is a learning moment. I wish I had acted better. I wish I had more control over myself, that I was more logical about this. I wish I took the time to ask who he was, to introduce each other, so I would have known who he was, he would have known who I was, and we could have started off the conversation that way. That would have been the right way to do it, from my point of view, if I could have done that. For future reference, I should know who I'm talking to, introduce myself, and ask to be introduced to who I'm speaking with and what position they hold. There's something to learn from it. All right, I got so much more to talk about. You guys have a great Wednesday.